going on, everybody? It's PapaStones coming back with another video. So we finally have all the leaders fully spoiled out. So we're going to do a little worst to best here. Let me know what you think down below. If you agree, if you disagree, whatever it may be. We're going to jump right into it. We got 18 leaders to go over. Starting from here at the very bottom, we got Admiral Holdo. So it's a 6-cost green-white, action 1, give a resistance unit or a unit with a resistance upgrade on it +2/+2, and on the back it does the same thing. It flips on 6 on attack. It's a 3/8 and it does the same thing, right? It gives it +2/+2 for the phase. So obviously right now we don't have a ton of resistance stuff in general. But even if we do, you're getting +2/+2 for 1 attack, so you can possibly trade up, I guess, but you're paying 1 for it. This just doesn't really have a lot going for it, if you ask me. I don't see a world where this is any good. Even if resistance is good, I don't think the leader itself is worth playing. That's just me, though. Next up, number 17, we got Lando. This is a blue-white. It says, action for 1. You can play a unit from your hand paying its cost, and if you do, and you control a ground unit and a space unit, give a shield token to it. It flips on 7 as a 5/7 Sentinel, or a pilot with +5/+5. Attached unit gains Sentinel, and when deployed as upgrade, you may give a shield token to a different unit, or a shield token to a unit in a different arena. I think, honestly, this and Holdo are tied for worst. Like, by a far margin. Paying 1 to play a card from your hand, you still got to pay the cost, so you're basically playing below curve. You have to have a ground unit and a space unit to give a shield to something. You could just play Luke from set 1 as a better option if you really want those shields and you want to play under curve to give shields. This is just too situational, too bad, to be honest. I think it's not even worth considering. Next up, we got Rose Tico. It is okay, I guess, right? It's better than the last two, I'll say that. It is blue-white, action, heal 2 damage from a vehicle that attacked this phase. And it flips on 5 as a 4/6, and on attack you may heal 2 damage from a vehicle. It's a little too situational. I think it has to be a vehicle that attacked, which is whatever, I guess, right? But if you're getting traded immediately, it does nothing. It's kind of, the fact that it has to be vehicles too kind of hinders me away. I would just say, like Obi-Wan, if you wanted to play like a heal-esque style leader, right? It only heals 1, but it can heal anything it chooses. It doesn't have to have attacked. I just don't really see a world where it's that good, to be honest. So we're going to move on. We got Admiral Trench. This is a yellow-black. It says, action, discard a card that costs 3 or more from your hand. If you do, draw a card. It doesn't have an epic to flip. It flips for 3 resources, and you have to control 6 or more resources. When deployed, you reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. An opponent discards 2 of them. You draw 1 of the remaining and discard the other. It's a 4/5. Honestly, I really like this card, which it kind of hurts me to put it this low. I just don't think it's that good, right? There's not enough synergies currently to, like, play around discarding stuff. It comes out and doesn't do a whole lot. It's just a 4/5. And realistically, when you're playing it, you're obviously getting the 3rd best card that you showed out of 4. So, like, say you're playing this in control, right? Like, you show an Avenger, a Vigilance, a Doctor Pershing, and a Restock or something like that, right? Like, they're gonna give you either the Pershing or the Restock and probably get rid of the other ones. Or, I mean, if you're in the control mirror, right? Like, things like that. Like, you're always going to get the 3rd best card you're going to miss the first two good ones. If there's a world where it's viable, I'd be kind of excited because it's a cool card in concept, but it's just not that good. Next up, we got Captain Phasma. This is a red-black. It says, action, if you played a first order card this phase, deal 1 damage to a base. And then flips on 5 is a 4/6. On attack, if you played another first order card this phase, you may deal 1 damage to a unit. If you do, deal 1 damage to a base. I don't hate it, right? I think it needs more support, though. Like, it could be a good aggro leader down the line. However, maybe I just haven't tested enough either. But, like, part of the problem, I think, is that it just doesn't have enough good support, right? Like, there is first order cards, but, like, when you think of, like, Sabine as the aggro leader, right? Like, you think of all the good synergies it already has, right? Like, in all the rebel packages and stuff like that. First order doesn't have that, so it kind of falls short for me. But maybe if they get better synergies, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't tested this out too much either, so maybe it'll be all right, but I don't think it's too great. Next up, we got Akbar. I maybe could have put this one lower, to be honest, but I kind of like it. So it's an action for 1. You can exhaust a non-leader unit, and if you do, its controller creates an X-Wing. Same concept when it flips, as a 6-cost 3/8 in yellow-white. The only thing I really think this has going for it is it's flexible, possibly. Like, if you need to not die, you could technically exhaust their spaceship and give them an X-Wing. It's not fantastic there, right? But there is certain aspects to maybe make a space strategy totally work, where you can just, like, exhaust your own stuff and then, like, have, like, a Chancellor Palpatine or something and get your tokens coming in ready, doing other random nonsense, right? There's some combo potential with it, I guess, if you're okay with exhausting your own stuff. So maybe it's okay, right? But it's not great. Next up, we got Asajj. This is why is it on the back or front? So it says action in blue-black, obviously. Action, deal 1 damage to a friendly unit. If you do, deal 1 damage to an enemy unit in the same arena. Then it flips on 6 as a 4/6 with grit, and also could be a pilot for +3/+4, and it gains grit, and on attack you may deal 1 damage to a friendly unit. If you do, deal 1 damage to an enemy unit in the same arena. If there's a blue-black aggro that plays great cards, then this card's cool, right? The only thing I don't like about it is that it has to be in the same arena, but I mean, who knows? Next up, we got Rio. I think I have this one a little higher than most, just because I think it's okay, right? We'll get into it, though. So it's an action for 1. Attack with a space unit, it gets +1/+0 and gains Saboteur. And then it flips on 5 as a 3/5 with Saboteur, or attached unit is a leader, and it gains Saboteur. If it's a transport, it gets +1/+0. So I like the fact that it gives Saboteur. I mean, sure, it costs 1. Normally speaking, abilities that cost are not that fantastic, but with all the Sentinels running around, if you were playing an aggro deck, then this could be viable. I don't think it's like the best leader, obviously. It doesn't do a whole lot for what it is, but I think there will be certain situations where having like a constant Saboteur will come into play, and this maybe sees some action. So we'll have to wait and see, though. Next up, we got Luke. It says action, if you attacked with a fighter unit this phase, deal 1 damage to a unit, and then it flips on 6 as a 5/6, or a +4/+5 upgrade. This upgrade can't be defeated by enemy card abilities. Attached unit's a leader. If it's a fighter, it gains on attack, you may deal 3 damage to a unit. The only real problem I have with this is obviously it's very fighter focused, which is kind of niche, but also I feel like This is meant to be a mid-rangey / control leader because of the dealing 1 damage to a unit or dealing 3 damage to a unit. Yeah, so it could be alright. But who knows? Red-white always kind of struggles in that style, I think. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe it's alright. We'll find out. Next up, we got Boba Fett. I think this one's subject to how it plays out, right? But it says, when you deal non-combat damage, you may exhaust this leader if you do deal 1 indirect damage to a player. And then on the backside, it's 4/7, and it's a pilot for +4/+4. And it says, attached units leader, when deployed as an upgrade, deal up to 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of units. I think this is just because there's enough indirect damage support to make this at least okay, right? We'll see if it's any good, right? Because sometimes, like, the problem with indirect damage in general is they get to pick where it goes, so they're always going to give you the worst option, right? Like, if you're playing aggro, they'll just hit their units down to 1 HP. If they're playing control, they'll just constantly hit their base, right? So we'll see if it pans out, but it's definitely not a bad leader. Next up, we got Major Von Reg. I know people are pretty high on this. Me, personally, I don't see it, though. I think this is like my 7th or 6th spot. So it says, action, play a vehicle unit from your hand, paying its cost. If you do, give another unit +1/+0 for this phase. It flips on 4 as a 2/5, and attached unit is a leader. It gains on attack. You may give another unit this arena +1/+0 for this phase as a +3/+3. I just don't think it's as good as people are hyping it up to be. Just because, same concept with Phasma. I just feel like Villain is the worst version of aggro compared to Hero right now. So, is playing a vehicle from your hand to give something +1/+0 that good? I don't know. Maybe this swaps out Django's spot as the space leader, right? You could just play this instead of Django and play a yellow base. Maybe? I don't know. I'm kind of debating it. I'm torn here. It's a decent aggro leader. Maybe it, like I said, maybe it takes over Django's spot as the aggro leader, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll eat my words on this one because I know a lot of people are higher up on this one. I just don't know. Next up, we got Darth Vader. I think this is 6, 5, 7, maybe. So it's action. If you attacked with a non-token vehicle unit this phase, create a TIE fighter. And then it flips on 6 as a 5/6, or attached unit is a leader for +5/+5, and when deployed as an upgrade, create 2 TIE fighter tokens. I like it, personally, just because I think this will be like the Space Swarm style deck, right? Being able to constantly generate tokens. You can play Saboteur-esque, or not Saboteur, exploit things with it because you got free fodder all the time. I like this one as like a Space Swarm deck, so who knows if it'll be any good. Maybe I'll swap it around and do a little creating, but I like Vader. Moving on, though, we got Wedge. I think this is number 6, right? We got Wedge. It says, action, play a card from your hand using piloting. It costs 1 less, and then it flips on 5 as a 3/6 or a 3/4 upgrade that says, attach units leader. On attack, the next pilot you play this phase costs 1 less. So this kind of goes to what I was just saying about Von Reg. I feel like Hero has the better aggro tools, personally. Being able to play 2 spaceships for 1 each and an upgrade for free, or play a 2-cost spaceship and a free upgrade on turn 1. I think Wedge is a pretty decent aggro leader. It's a little subject to control, I think, because if they start removing your spaceships quickly, then it feels a lot worse and you'll run out of gas pretty fast. But I think he's solid. So, yeah. Next up we got Han. This is, yeah, I think this is my top 5 here. So we got Han. It's yellow-white. It says, action, reveal the top card of your deck, then attack with the unit. If the revealed card and that unit have different odd costs, then it gets +1/+0. Flips as a 3/7 or a +3/+4. An attached unit is a leader. When deployed as an upgrade for each friendly unit or upgrade that has an odd cost, ready a resource. So, I like Han a lot, to be honest. I don't know. I haven't crafted it up in a while. But you're obviously, in my mind, you'll play a bunch of odd cost cards, like odd base cost, right? And then you'll play different upgrades, like pilots that have even costs, or smuggle cars that have even costs, so you can fill your curve that way. But your deck, in theory, will be all odd costs. That way, when you play Bosheks, you'll be able to guarantee draw 2 cards, or when you use his ability, you'll almost always hit as long as it's a different cost, right? I think this card has some serious potential. I'll have to see if it can hold its own against an aggro deck, I think. But as a mid-range strategy, I think it'll be pretty good. Next up, we got Kazuda. This guy, another yellow-white. It says, action, a friendly unit loses all abilities for this round. Take an extra action. And then it does, on attack, choose any number of friendly units. They lose all abilities. And attach leader as a +3/+3 pilot. It does the same thing. Choose any number of friendly units. They all lose abilities. Outright, it sounds kind of not fantastic, right? Why would you want your good cards to lose abilities? But there's a lot of cards they've shown that are overstated that have horrible effects, right? Like the legendary spaceship that when it dies they can play it for the from the discard pile, or the 4/4 3-cost with ambush. Basically this kind of just lets you play a bunch of overstated stuff and negate the downsides, right? You could also technically, in theory, you could play Heroic Sacrifice because of how they decided that losing abilities works. You could make it lose an ability, play Heroic Sacrifice, draw your card, get your +2 with your swing, but it won't die because the ability of when it attacks or whatever is lost for the round, which is a very strange interaction. But there's options like that. So I think this card will make for a really solid aggro leader, being able to play a bunch of overstated goofballs, right? That's really what it is. I think Rampart might be a villainous card now that I think about it, but might be able to get away with that too. I'm not positive. I might have to hold on. Now I'm very curious. I think it's a villainy card. Yeah, never mind. I was going to say you could play Rampart, but that's a villainy card, so we're going to move on. Yeah, I think this card's got some serious potential, being able to make a bunch of aggro meatheads. So, yeah. Third place, I got Piet. These top 3, I just want to preface, the top 3 are all, I think, very close. Honestly, the top 4, I think Kazuda could be pretty good too. But they're all kind of their own category, I guess. But yeah, top 4, top 5 are the good ones, I think, that could see some serious action. But we got Piet. So he plays a capital ship from your hand. It costs 1 less, and then on the backside it flips for 5 as a 2/7, and each capital ship costs 2 less. Not very flashy, right? But Piet allows you to do a lot of crazy things. Mana cheating is always terrifying in a card game, right? So Outlaw Corona is the cheapest capital ship for 3. Obviously, it has a pretty negative downside of giving your opponent an extra ramp if it dies. So, like, in most lists, you'll play it, right? Because it's a 2-cost 3/5 and it answers aggro spaceships. However, like against control matchups, you won't play it, right? But as a whole, being able to make your capital ships cheaper is crazy. Like if you're playing in red, you can make the new Devastator cost 6. You can make Ruthless Raider cost 5. If you're playing in blue, you can make an Avenger cost 7. Old Devastators cost, 8, 9. There's just tons of good ships that you can cheat out earlier that are worthwhile. And Piet currently has some flexible color schemes, I think, in red and blue. So I definitely think this is one to watch out for. I think it will have to be kind of catered to aggro because obviously capital ships are, generally speaking, late cost cards. So maybe off rip it'll kind of be hard to get around, but once the deck kind of like adjusts to how much aggro is in the meta, if there is some, which I think there will be, once it adjusts and finds a way to stabilize early, it can be good. However, it might get put behind too quickly. I'm not sure. Next up, we got Poe. I think Poe's the aggro leader of choice, along with Kazuda, obviously. But I think Poe gives you a lot more options. Just because words shouldn't talk about it. So action for 1, you can flip it and attach it as a pilot to something. And it's a 2/1 upgrade when you attach it. It deploys on 5 as a 4/6. And you can action attach this upgrade to a friendly vehicle unit without a pilot on it. So, obviously, there is the eject combo with Poe, right? Where you can play a spaceship round 1, put Poe on it, eject it, and have your Poe be a 4/6 on the ground on turn 2 after you just got in with your spaceship for probably 4 to 5 damage. Even without that, though, I think Poe gives you enough aggro options that are worthwhile, right? Like, I think in a sense it kind of can just replace it. I mean, Sabine comes out a turn earlier, right? There's no denying that. But being able to give your spaceships pilots when they need them, you don't have to play any pilots in your actual deck. Like I said, the eject combo I think is super huge in this, being able to play Poe possibly 4 times. Sabine will probably still be faster. I'm not 100% positive, but I think against other decks that are not as aggro, like, I wouldn't even say control, but like the mid-range or the whatever, like, or control, that Sabine can struggle to get through, I think Poe has more longevity to it. So, who knows? I think Poe's kind of more niche, but I think it will be probably pretty solid. So, yeah. Moving on, though, last but not least, I put Thrawn at number 1. So, we're going to read it first and we're going to talk about it. It says, when you use when defeated ability, you may exhaust this leader. If you do use that ability again, flips on 6 is 4/7. When used when defeated, same thing, right? So, I'm not positive that Thrawn's going to be the best leader coming right out the gate, right? But I think as a whole, like with possibilities for the future, I think Thrawn has the highest upside potential. Even right now, coming out the gate, I think there's decent enough when defeated cards that Thrawn will see play. It'll probably, if I had to guess, be some form of control, right? But there's, like I said, there's Val, that's a 2-cost that gives you 4 XP in Thrawn, basically. If you're playing it in green, Cobb Vanth can get you 2 2-drops. If you're playing it in red, though, they have that Shadowcaster that lets your when defeated go again, so your when defeated can go 3 times. I think Thrawn has a lot of options. Like I said, I'm not positive if it'll be enough currently. If it is, then it's a slam dunk, right? But going forward, they have to think about every when defeated card that they print because of how this card will interact with it. I think Thrawn is going to be a house. I'm not positive. Like I said, I'm not positive it's going to be the best this set. I think if you're looking for just meta contenders for sure, I think like Kazuda and Poe and Piet are probably above Thrawn, just as meta contenders for sure. However, I think Thrawn will be the best leader at some point. It might not be this set. It might be, though. There is a lot of good when defeated effects. So I would definitely keep your eyes out for Thrawn. But yeah, this is all I got for this one. Let me know what you guys think of my rankings. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a thumbs up. If you disagree with what I have to say, let me know. Let me know why. Let me know what you think. If you think I'm off or whatever it may be, I'm always free to chat. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.